You're listening to Families of Camp Mystic Victims Say Plan to Reopen, Intensified Our Grief, a news story written by Kim Belware and Gaia Gupta and read by an AI-generated voice. The parents of the child still missing after a deadly flood swept through Camp Mystic in Texas in July are calling on the camp's leaders to immediately halt plans to reopen next summer, a move they decried as unthinkable. CiCi and Will Steward, whose 8-year-old daughter, CiCi, was among the 27 campers and counselors killed at Camp Mystic, sent a letter Wednesday to the camp's owners criticizing the plan to reopen and build an on-site memorial honoring the flood victims. The steward said they and other parents whose daughters died at the camp were devastated and were not consulted before leaders announced Tuesday their plans for the memorial and reopening. We call on Camp Mystic to halt all discussion of reopening and memorials, the letter shared with the Washington Post states. Instead, Seal must be recovered, and you must fully confront and account for your role in the events and failures that caused the deaths of our daughters. Camp Mystic, in a statement to the Post, said there is strong interest in its plans for next summer. The camp did not respond to questions about the steward's letter, which said it was sent on behalf of other victims' families too. On July 4th, Richard Dick Eastland, the camp's longtime owner, received a severe flood warning on his phone from the National Weather Service at 1:14 a.m., but did not begin to evacuate the campers asleep in cabins near the rapidly rising Guadalupe River for more than an hour, the Post reported. Eastland died trying to rescue some of the youngest campers. Our decision to partially reopen areas of the camp is informed by our faith and our commitment to continue the nearly century-long mission and ministry of Camp Mystic to provide a Christian camping experience for girls that allows them to grow physically, mentally, and spiritually, the statement from Camp Mystic said. Search operations are ongoing at Camp Mystic. We continue to pray that Kile will be found and for the peace and comfort of the families of all the campers and counselors. The camp announced its plan in 2 emails, one to families of the victims that made no mention of reopening and one to the broader camp community. In both, the Eastland family, which has owned Camp Mystic for decades, wrote that the Cypress Lake location would comply with new safety protocols passed in the Texas legislature. We are not only rebuilding cabins and trails, but also a place where laughter, friendship, and spiritual growth will continue to flourish, the letter sent to the wider camp community states. As we work to finalize plans, we will do so in a way that is mindful of those we have lost. Camp Mystic Guadalupe River, the section that sustained the most damage in July, will not reopen, the Eastlands wrote in their letter. Camp Mystic's leadership team was evaluating plans with engineers and experts to rebuild that site, the letter said. The camp had successfully appealed to remove several of its structures from a FEMA flood zone designation, despite being located in a high-risk flood area. For generations, summer camps in Texas Hill Country like Camp Mystic have been a rite of passage for children from across the state. The responses to Tuesday's letters appear to have divided the once tightly knit community of Camp Mystic, which is set to celebrate its centennial next year. The camp's communication about the reopening intensified our grief, the stewards wrote in their letter. Several parents of the campers killed in the flood joined the stewards in criticizing the Eastlands' decisions. We were not consulted about and did not approve the memorial Camp Mystic emailed us about yesterday. Missy Peck, whose 8-year-old daughter Eloise died in the flood, told the Post in a text message. At this time, we believe that all resources should be focused on reuniting CiCi Steward with her family as the last unrecovered camper lost in the waters of the Guadalupe River at Camp Mystic. Camp Mystic, in its statement, said the camp is in the initial stages of planning a memorial. We notified the parents because we are initiating the process to plan the memorial and wanted them to be informed, the camp wrote in its statement. We welcome their participation as the process develops. The families of the Camp Mystic victims, known as Heavens 27, have rallied for legislative change since the floods, including for a law signed this month mandating greater preparation and safety at summer youth camps. Doug Getton, whose 9-year-old daughter Ellen died in the floods, said it was gut-wrenching to receive an email about the camp's reopening. How can they talk about opening registrations for next summer when a child has not been recovered and brought home to her family? He wrote in a statement. It feels tone-deaf and way too soon to resume business as usual. No one in the Bubble Inn, where Ellen was staying, survived the flooding. Her sister Gwyn was in another cabin and was airlifted out of the camp. She misses her little sister and best friend every day, Getton said.